Hello, my name is Jeff Rolka. Thank you for checking out my video. This is a question about gigging, playing in restaurants and places like that, and what it might entail. This is an equipment question, and I must admit, I do enjoy these sorts of questions. I would like to start singing at small venues and restaurants, but I'm a solar singer, and don't really want to join a band. Where would I begin? What sound equipment would I need to provide a professional performance without relying on others to help me? Really cool question. I love questions like this. The truth of the matter is that without knowing the specifics about what kind of music you're doing, if you're singing with tracks, or if you're playing a digital piano or a guitar or something else and accompanying yourself, things like that, it's really hard for me to get really specific. What I can do, however, is show you what I was using when I was gigging more frequently in clubs, restaurants, wine bars especially. I did a lot of wine bars back in the day. And I've also done a couple tours where I traveled and toured solo acoustic, but oftentimes had to provide my own amplification. Now, we should first of all just keep in mind, so they might have a PA for you, a public address system, a PA, shorthand PA. They might have a PA. You don't need anything. You might still want to bring elements of your rig in that case. But if it's a fairly well-established venue that regularly has performers, they very well may have a PA that you can just plug into. In those instances, you might want to bring, like I said, elements of your rig, but you don't necessarily have to bring the whole thing. To be honest, I would often bring my whole rig anyway, just in case, because sometimes the house PA is not one you want to play through, and it's just better to use your own rig. And my rig, I would say it's buy it for life, if you know what that means. I spent a lot of money up front, but I don't ever anticipate having to replace it unless something dramatically changes. So let's get into this here. I'm going to show you the specifics of what I was touring with and what I played numerous wine bars in San Francisco with, and other kinds of different venues like all over the place. First and foremost, let's not bury the lead too much here. Save some money for cables. Not fun buying cables. It's not awesome, but you're going to need them. Also, you're going to need a couple extra because they do occasionally fail. If you want to save a little bit of extra money long term, then you can learn to make your own cables, as I have done. I didn't happen to make these cables as it happens, but I do make my own cables. And the initial costs of solder and soldering iron and things like that are going to offset your savings initially, but long term, you will save money because cables are only getting more expensive, and the actual components are not that expensive. You're going to find a microphone. You're going to want a microphone, ideally one that really suits your voice. This happens to be an Audix OM6. I've got several different stage mics that I like. My favorite's the Neumann KMS-105, but I chose to show you this one because it's more modestly priced. You might like an SM58, you might like a Beta 58. It's likely that you're going to have to try some out. Hopefully you'll find one that isn't too expensive. But, you know, buy once, cry once, or something like that. There's like a saying that goes like that. Find the one that suits your voice and then get that microphone. You will want to have some type, I'll unzip it here, of portable tuning device. I happen to use a Peterson tuner. I should say too, I don't have any affiliations or anything like that with any of the companies that I'm going to show you here. I purchased all of this gear with my own money. No one has given me any of this stuff. So yeah, there's that. Anyways, I happen to use a Peterson tuner. I have a larger one that does not clip onto any of my guitars. I just like it. It also has a metronome, which I use on a daily basis. It works really, really well. It's very accurate. Peterson tuners are kind of expensive. Again, buy once, cry once. I will say, once you get used to tuning with one, you won't probably want to go back. They just really work very, very well. You're going to need a microphone stand of some kind. This one happens to be a boom stand. I would recommend a boom stand just in general. Whether you're playing a piano or keyboard or playing guitar, it's nice to have the microphone come to you instead of trying to wrangle yourself around a straight stand. So get one with a boom. This happens to be a K&M stand. I like these. They're like mid-price. They're not so expensive as to be ridiculous like a Triad Orbit, but they do work really, really well, and they last a very, very long time. Finally, I primarily used an AER Compact 60 amplifier system. I bought this a long time ago. Nowadays, you could still get I think you could get a battery at the time. This one doesn't have a battery. I got it because just about everywhere I played had power. So I didn't need a battery, and I wanted it to be light. I mean, this thing's not super light, but you can hold it with one hand, and it sounds really quite good. It has two inputs on the top and like a little fuzzy ball there in the handling area. One, presumably for guitar, it's just a 1/4-inch input, and then one XLR, it's a combo jack, so it's XLR and 1/4-inch. At the time that I bought this setup, this amplifier, there were very few that had phantom power, and I was just switching over to the KMS 105 at the time, and so I wanted to make sure that I had phantom power. There's a lot of other features on this. I think there's aux inputs, and there's also a DI output, so if you got like your sound really, really nicely dialed in on this rig, but then you went to a venue that had a PA, you could just take the DI out from here and go into their PA, and you'd have all your effects. I mean, it has like very, very basic effects on this system, but it does have EQ for both channels, a little bit of verb, and a delay, which are decent sounding. You know, they're decent. You don't necessarily want like a whole lot of reverb or delay when you're playing a live show in a live venue. Oftentimes the venues themselves will have a certain amount of that reverberance to them, but sometimes it can be a nice thing, and if you dial it in on this, then you'll have it there ready to go if you use DI output for the venue. The specifics of your setup, however, may dictate other things. You might need more inputs than that has, and maybe you don't want to use a submixer going into it. That can be kind of onerous, so you might need to seek out a system that has a few extra inputs. There are numerous other systems out there. Fender Passports come to mind and have multiple inputs. That's more of a PA system as opposed to a smaller, almost like acoustic guitar amplifier system that also does a vocal mic as well. The Fender Passports are more like a regular PA. On the other hand, you might want even more portability than this, and so like a Roland Cube. I owned one of those for a while when I was gigging in London, in that area. And so that one had a battery on it, which meant that I could take it out, fire it up, and play just about any place. And those sound decent, like they sound really, really good. Once again, I have no affiliations, no associations, no sponsorships. That's the word I was looking for any of these different things. At any rate, if you have follow-up questions, drop them in the comments below. Maybe you can let me in on some of the specifics of what you're doing, and I might be able to help. There are lots and lots of options, lots of great gear. You don't really have to spend an awful lot of money, but sometimes spending a little bit extra money means that you will save money long-term. Thinking specifically about microphone stands, cables, and a microphone as well. At any rate, Great, great question. Thank you for bringing that up. Big thank you if you've chosen to subscribe, and a big thank you to my Patreon supporters, where you can get these videos in MP3 format, so you can take them wherever your hearts desire. Listen, practice all over the place. A world filled with song. How cool would that be? At any rate, thank you so very much. Have a lovely day. My name is Jeff. Take really good care of your voices. Enjoy singing. We'll see you next time. Bye.